when we finish Shabbos and we want to bring the kedusha of Shabbos into Yemei Chayil, into the weekdays, what do we ironically say? We say Hamavdil ben Kodesh l'cha. If it's havdala, then if havdala means strictly just dividing and keeping them separate, then how are we ever going to bring the kedusha into the Chayil? So obviously, what we're saying here is that it's not a division to keep separate, but it's almost a division in order that we be able to. It's like a demarcation of, I don't know. Like I use a very crude example. We put up the net of the volleyball, right? Net, which is creating a division. So now we could start playing ball, and that the ball now is going over it back and forth, right? But without the net, we wouldn't be passing the ball, you know. The havdala is in itself, it's a separate, it's just there to organize what is kedusha, what is chayil. Once that is set up, it's like anything when we're working with colors and as artists, we have to know, or whatever pattern we make the piles of whatever it is. Now we could work together and create what we need to. So Shabbos, everything is all under the aura of just kedusha, holiness. You can't even distinguish and recognize what is chayil here. So comes havdala and says, no, there's an inyan to actually understand what is what. That there is everything has its place. Everything has there are categories of it. Set that up, but it's not to remain isolated, but to the adrabah. So now we could work with them to connect them, and of course to elevate the chayil. So it's probably on the second day in general. The whole vihi mavdil. Oh, I was going to look it up in Chumash, Mayim, right? Or Eish Mayim, or Shamayim, Toicha Mayim. You see, B'toich Hamayim. B'toich is even saying when it's separating, it's being within it at the same time. It's not so it's a mixing of it. But it's not just mixing, it's showing that even though that they appear opposites, I mean the opposites is mostly Eshamayim. The others are not two aspects. They're both just water. It's either elevating water or saying that there is water there, but the only one of the readings of Shemayim that says that it's two elements, even opposite elements, is a Shemayim. Just because it says, even before light, it says Baruch Elakim rachapet al pnei hamayim. So the famous question. So that means water was first. And right, it's according to Kabbalah also, Mayim is the highest of these sites of the sources in a way. In the ancient Greeks, the pre-Socratics. So there were different views. I forget Heraclitus. Until Heraclitus, there were different philosophers that said, oh, this element is the primary element and others are not. So one of the earliest, the most prominent was Thales or Thales of Miletus.
Okay.
It's one whose opinion was that the whole world originated with water, from water. That's the element. And it's probably in modern biology, geography and such, and earth sciences would tell you that the majority of the world's surface is certainly water. Right. Well, the man is lachem min hashamayim, bread from heaven, which is where water, the mayim elyonim, certainly,
right,
upper water. So it's also like gematria of melach, right? At Columbia University, there was a legendary philosopher. His name was Sidney Morgenbesser. He was actually came from a modern Orthodox home flat. I think he went to Yeshiva Flatbush when he was really young. Then Yeshiva University, what have you. But he wound up. He was a genius, Jewish kid, and he wound up at Columbia University. I only heard very little from him actually speaking, but I remember him walking around smiling. So he's famous for a bunch of different philosophical jokes. So with Thales of Milades, he said, how do we know Thales of Milades wasn't Jewish? Because if Thales of Milades was Jewish, he would have said the whole world was made out of seltzer. That was his joke. So that's what we know. So I don't know. It doesn't say the Chumash that God created the world out of seltzer, but it does say the Mayim, right? It's very interesting. The Mayim before the Oyer, 100%. Yeah, I mean, the two metaphors in general used in Kabbalah and Chassidus of that which emanates from the essence, from the Atzmus of Hashem to us is either Oyer, light, or Mayim, or water, right? Or Shefa, flow. And it's discussed at length in different, both in Kabbalah, let's say by the Ramak, Mishkar Devero, and even before him and after him, and elaborated also in Chassidus, particularly in Chabad, Chassidus, the why we use these two main metaphors, light and water, and that there's certain aspects in each that are better fit as metaphor for this divine connection than the other. And in fact, and this, I think the Rambam uses this too when he discusses this in Mer Nevuchim, Guide for the Perplexed. This is already embedded in the pasuk. Which pasuk? Imcha Meker Chayim. It's part of the pasuk. Meker Chayim. Meker. A lot, if not most times in Tanakh means like a kval, we say in Yiddish, like a well, a source of water. So Imcha Meker Chayim, or one could say Meker Mayim. I had a friend who had a shtickle into biblical studies, who had a feeling that maybe, of course, the Torah Tehillim is the way it's now, but maybe Chaim could also have been read once, or maybe it's rhyming with Mayim deliberately, Mayim and Chaim. So Chaim is alluding to the water part, and then there's the Baruch is the light part. By the way, the motto on the original old insignia or emblem of Columbia University, it has the Baruch in Latin on top of it, like lux, to do with this union of reflecting the light. Because again, light is in the classics also. Let's say when you come to get to Plato, light is the primary metaphor, like the famous allegory of the cave about revealing. Water at many times could meant concealment. We know in Zohar we speak about alma diskasia, about the concealed world is seen like the sea, and the nuneyama, the fish of the sea, are the animals that are concealed, and tzaddikim, the righteous are compared, are associated with these fish hidden in the depths of the water, the sea. So there's something about, well, water that has that amazing quality that it both conceals, yet it's not fully concealing. It's still translucent, depending on how the water is. You can actually see through it. In a way, the water it represents the source even before it's in a state of illumination, in the most intense and original way. We're talking because we're on day 2 of creation tonight, Chavav Elul, and it's someone's birthday here too, so it's all one great celebration. So the havdala, the separating, you could say waters too. That's the whole point. Just like Kriyat Yam Suf is that the reason why it was a miracle is because water by nature doesn't separate. So it takes extra effort to create this division, and it's Taka brought down that the havdala of the Yam Suf originates over the way here in the second day of creation. So mamish, we're finding the connection already. Well, what we're studying with the theme of Mitzvah Shabbos and havdala. What does it mean to separate? Doesn't mean to keep to divide. Doesn't mean to keep them at a distance, but rather to prepare the materials for which we are going to elevate them all to the holy, to what is higher. Especially now, we come to the end of the year, it's all the more it's the time of the last working out what we need to from all that we have collected over the past year, and finishing to sort out the pot, what was good and what wasn't so good, and then and to be able to then be able to know what needs to be elevated. Aaron's writing and asking, is there upper and lower light, or is the vertical metaphor only used for distinguishing two arrangements of water? Very good, because we have the two waters. You have the Maim Duchrin, Maim Nukrin, the masculine waters that flow from above down. Then you have the feminine waters that flow up, right? Maim Nukrin. Ha'olas Man, we call it. Elevating Maim Nukrin. So, and which is interesting because by nature, water flows with gravity, to use modern science term, whatever it is, but the nature is of water to flow down one way. And in fact, that's why the mashal of water is used for the emanation of Hashem, from Hashem's essence, to signify that unlike light, this is one benefit of the water metaphor or over the light metaphor of the emanation of Hashem, that light, the way it works is that the closer it is to the source, the more intense it is, and then it diminishes as it shines away from the source. Let's say a ray of sun. So if you're closer to the sun, it'll be really intense, but by the time it gets to planet Earth, it's in that general range of these days here in the northern hemisphere, I suppose, anywhere between 40 and 120, 10, I suppose 120. I was just speaking with my chevra who went through like 115 degrees a couple weeks ago in California. Yep, sure. So it's like not a joke. But there it is. But obviously it's not as hot as it is closer to the source. Water, on the other hand, it's the same material of water, the same drop of water that makes it to the bottom it's the same form as it was at the beginning. Okay, maybe it picked up a little schmutz on the way down, but more or less, it is of the same mahus, of the same substance of the way it was on the top of the mountain peak and the way it reached by the time it flowed down to the bottom. Water in the river coming down, the waterfall, right? So too, when we want to emphasize that even that though Hashem is taka shaloi l'fiach, totally incomparably unrelatable to us, uncomparable to us, certainly not on our level at all. In fact, he put us in the way we are to begin with. And with all that, and the distance between us, Hashem, quote unquote, and on a certain level, is like infinitely distant, as distant as any. If the distance between anything finite and infinite is infinite, all the more so with the Creator of all things, not just finite, but Creator of all infinitude. So all the more so. And as the Ramak, in fact, goes through the shloi erech, the incomparability of God from the lowest spheres to the upper spheres, and then from there to Ketzer, and Keter even higher. But yet, at the same time, we as much as we say Hashem is in that state, which would make us think, oh, God is so remote, so out of touch, so not close. But no. Or as to quote, paraphrase from our parsha, Kiloi nefleisi, right? Loiva Shemayim he. God is not just like abstract wonderments, totally transcendent, not stuck somewhere up in heaven, only remote. No, that is in fact what led to types of theologies such as called deism. Those that believe that only God is so great that God can never lower himself to our physical lowest standards. By definition, it is beneath. It is diminishing God's greatness that God would be in this world with us, because our world is so limited and corruptible. So of course God is not part of that. So therefore God is just this very abstract, absolute infinite of all infinite existence, but not down here with me on an imminent level. Comes areas of Kabbalah, and especially in Chassidus, and we're even not even Torah. We say Malay Chalar is Kavayda, right? Right? That God is here, fills the whole world, and it's present intimately, and not just because God like doubt filtered himself out to be on a level that we can. That's done too. That's why there was the whole Simpson and the whole Seder Shtalshlis, and the whole endless almost steps and downgradings that needed to go go through until the infinite light at least reached us. But on the level of water, actually, it's like the essence of God is the same, just like it's all the way up there, the same down here. Mamish, the same. It's the same thing. That's why a neshama is so amazing, because a neshama, we're saying, is not just the essence of what is the most spiritual and divine, right? The chelik is part of God's very essence, mimal, from above. But it's not just mimal, it's mamash. Mamash, it says in time. Mamash means to bring it down into a tangible way. Neshama, when it comes down and embodies in the body, now the soul has now transformed into a state in the physical world, and has merged so one with the body, we cannot even say that there's a soul separate of the body, both body separate of the soul. They have become one existence of human. And in that state, the soul is fully manifested in the physical world. And that is, and what we're talking about before, Aaron, about how to bring these opposites merging, whether it's fire or water or other aspects, or like even we're talking here, soul and body. Or more, I would say, even in our body, the animal soul with the divine soul, nefesh bahamis, nefesh alikis, as we call it. So all of this is a process of unifying, hisachdus, coming together. And where does it all begin? Back in the Kabbalistic cosmology of things, is, because now we're talking about creation, it is what we call in Kabbalah, hislapshus eires b'kelim, the investiture. That means the embodiment of the light in the vessel. Once the light fits comfortably in its proper vessel, then what happens? Then both the light can truly express its light, its luminance, right? Because without the vessel, it could be just as blurry or too powerful light. It's not being used. It could be so bright that it will appear black to us, right? Because that's what, and like it says in the Zohar, that which is light to us is dark above, and that which is dark to us is light above. That's what the Kabbalists say is actually the sphere of Keter. And why? And because Keter is both beyond us. So for us it appears to be dark, but really it's the highest light. It's known as Oyer Uchma. black light. You need special black light bulbs to see it. If you're never going to be in the Keter land. Maybe that's why the Kabbalists wore white, especially on Shabbos, because they were going up into Keter, where there was only the black light, and it comes out in the white clothes glow in black light. Yeah. Okay. Well, but there it is, mamish. That and in this respect, or that's I'm just saying, we can in a way say that yes, and maybe the first time mentioned in the Torah, the first thing mentioned in Torah is water before light, but when we say light on day 2, it's not that the light didn't exist before, but it could have been that higher order of light. It could have been the v'choshech al pnei tahom, the choshech that it says even before the water. Doesn't necessarily mean to be an inferior negative state of dark, but it could have been that what's known as Yashes Choshech Sisrei. It says that God turns over the black darkness to reveal the light. Golol ar mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei ar. So what's happening? Golol ar mipnei choshech. That means that there was an element of light even before the choshech that's not even mentioned. That is the primordial light that to us appears as dark. That what is known as the Or Haganus, concealed light, or you're right, or Shiva Seyamim, the Or that the light that is going to be revealed in to the tzaddikim in the future, because then it will be refined enough that we could appreciate it. We won't be blinded or zapped by its direct exposure. Right, we'll all be able to receive, I don't know, havdala, no better vision, like radiation glow or something, like something that everyone just cannot tolerate anymore. It can't now these days, but imagine there's a type of, really, it's not just light. We're speaking about energy too. That's what we mean by light. And light means to bring out the purpose of everything. And the quality of that specific thing. So therefore, back to about his slapshus, like bringing down the light into the vessel. So when the light is coming down the vessel, and therefore the light could be fully revealed, because without the vessel it would appear to be more opaque, and therefore for the same reason why there's a tzimtzum is in order to reveal, right? So too, the vessel, when it receives the light, its purpose is revealed. What is revealed? Twofold. Both, it becomes less of a just concealment, because it's obvious now that this vessel is serving to reveal more, to shine more. So now the vessel itself is more shining. B, it's revealing its purpose, which is to control the light enough that it could reveal healthfully in a healthy, in a constructive way. So the purpose of it, so even as of it remaining in as Elam, concealment, is in itself revealed. That concealment has a purpose and a need to work together hand in hand with Gilui, with revelation. So that explains two things, because this is something that's talked on 9,000 level of Chabad Chassidus. I'm just talking like graduate, like the most advanced seminars you get. So the whole thing, like you could go in later teachings, what does it mean that the tzimtzum, there's a term that when Mashiach comes, the Rebbe Rashab brings this down also, tzimtzum atzma yair. The tzimtzum itself will shine. And in fact, I remember at Fabrengen, the Rebbe was spoken, and he was making, when someone wrote, there was, not to go too much in detail, had to do with Rebbe Riel Khan, but suffice to say that there was someone wrote, or explaining in the Rebbe's teachings and Chassidus the idea of that Tzimtzum itself will shine, will illuminate. So this was published in a note of one of the Rebbe's Maimar discourses on like a Thursday or Friday. The next day, Shabbos, the Rebbe Fabrang, and the Rebbe went off that there's Spitz Chabad, these like big people, intellectuals, that think that they understand how Tzimtzum itself could shine. So the Rebbe says, there's another term, that Chayshach Atzmeyar, that Chayshach, darkness itself, will shine. So the Rebbe said it could be, when we say Chayshach Atzmeyar, that the darkness itself will shine. That maybe, because it makes some sense, because there's two opinions, both amongst both, generally divided between the philosophers and the Kabbalists. Philosophers say that darkness is not a substance, but it's just the negation, or as they say in philosophy, the privation of light. So the privation, the heder, that means the void of light is darkness, but not that there is an existence, qua existence of light. Of darkness. But the Kabbalists say no, darkness itself is an existence. And again, one of the most basic proofs of that is, again, from the beginning of Bereshit, that even before it says light, it says that there was darkness. So there was already an existence, must have been existence of darkness, not just to contrast it as not being light, because there's no mention of light yet at all. Okay. That's why, but the Rebbe said, but if you put Tzimtzum is not just saying it's a substance, it's an act of emptying out. So how do you say that in itself is light? But just saying, though, let's say phenomenologically, like in the way you could think of what is Tzimtzum, that Tzimtzum is more of a verb than a noun. It's a way of getting rid of the light. So how can you say that in itself is light? So maybe it would be more of a paradoxical statement. But just to add, but mitzad, the fact that the Tzimtzum is serving a purpose, and that purpose is to light, to illuminate in a healthy, manageable way for us. So even if the Tzimtzum does not, ironically, it's by the Tzimtzum not getting to the full level of ultimate light, the way it is on the same level of the light without Tzimtzum. That Tzimtzum is limiting the light. So by that concealing it, by the Tzimtzum concealing, or even, the light, it in itself is revealing its purpose, which is to conceal. So even the concealment has an element of revelation, of Gilui. And that is a beautiful thing to teach us, that even things that appear just either appear not unimportant, or even appear just to be a prelude for something else. So you would think, okay, so I'll just use it to jump off. I'll use the darkness just to bounce my light off of, to make the light greater. Fine, which is beautiful, yeah. But we're saying more, that the darkness, even without the light, has a certain purpose. And that is the ultimate is hapcha, transformation, to be able to take from that which is mamish. It seems like it's like we've spoken about in the past about tshuva, is also to take. So tshuva is doing that too. It's going to a state where it's dark, but really it contains the greatest light. In physics they say this too, that black, contains all the colors, or also be able to bounce all the light. There's a certain connection of the full spectrum of light that has to do dafka with black. So it's in there. It's just needs to be revealed. All right. So this is also, again, this is the time preparing for Rosh Hashana, of course, to bring in the light. And also we say Atem Nitzavim Hayayim. Hayayim is the day, today. Day is the time of light. I'll tell you a beautiful word also. What do we say today? What is the first day of creation? right? We just earlier today, Wednesday, first day of all creation. The day of creation of the human is Aleph Tishrei, right? Which is this year Monday. That's first day of Rosh Hashana. We know the famous verse. It says, "Zeh hayayim." We say it also in Musaf version. "Zeh hayayim tchilas matzecha zikarein liyom mishay." That this is the day of the beginning of your makings, a remembrance of the first day. And we know the pshat. What does it mean? Zeh hayayim tchilas matzecha. This is the day Rosh Hashana, even though Rosh Hashana is not the first day of creation, only creation of the human, because the being that the purpose of all of creation is for it, just looking at it at least anthropocentrically, that is for us humans to come into a prepared world in order to perfect it, take over and perfect it even more, and continue the creation process physically, spiritually, taking over, so to speak. And God is, of course, recreating the world every moment, as it says in Kabbalah and in Chassidus, right? Every moment. It's only that like the first 6 days is when it was all set down, certainly in a way of klal, in a general way. So the Zeh Masecha, this day 6 of creation, is Zikarin. It's just a memory of the day 1, meaning it's that on day 6 when the human was created, it was able to reference back to day 1, say, that's why this whole world was created. The last 6 days, this is what Adam Harishon was thinking in the Garden of Eden, is all so that now it's my responsibility to continue this great process of to make the world, right? So the Zeh Hayom is the day of 6th day, Rosh Hashana. So you go from, we know that amongst the prophets, there are 2 levels of prophecy, of revelation. There's the revelation of Koi, like Koi Amar Hashem, which is most prophets, and then very special prophets, such as Moshe Rabbeinu. It says he says Zeh, Marabetz by Merzeh, this, not just so, which is like in a distant comparison, this like that, but rather Zeh is direct. You just point, say this, right? That's why it says Kol Hanavim Nisnabim B'Koi, but Moshe and Nisnabe did prophesy B'Zeh with this. The Rambam brings this down, and many others, of course. So Zeh, we see, is taking the Koi and revealing it to a higher level. So that is the Zeh Hayom. That Zeh Hayom, how do we reveal the purpose of all creation, bringing it from a state of Koi to a state of Zeh, to be open in that way? Hayom, that means to bring in a state of open daytime light, is by Tchilas Masecha, when we humans start doing the work. So, as you say, Tchilas Masecha of your makings, we say of God's makings, of course, and that is the whole purpose. But it's also looping back to us that we are also here to do the work. And like we say at the end of Vayechul Shabar Elokim Lases, that God created Lases to make, to do. For who to do? Not for God is already doing. God will help, of course. God will surely cover the yesh ma'ayin part of creation, something out of nothing. But the rest of the creation parts of how to make this something even better, something, and that's our contribution to this whole creation process. And that's why we do mitzvahs and Torah and K'nus Chasadim and all that we do, right? So this is, and how do we reveal it? Is through, it's by doing it. And this is to loop it, and this is what I was saying before. We were saying that when we speak about spiritual God and spirituality, that's what our Parsha is saying, that it's not in the middle of the Parsha. It's not up in heaven. As great as heaven is, as great as Musad Shemayim is Shemayim. right? Our parsha this year we do the Nitzavim separate from Vayelach, so it's a very short parsha this week. In fact, there is a halachic siman. What do you say? Like mnemonic device, so to speak, a saying phrase to know what year you don't say Nitzavim together with Vayelach, and it's the pasuk from Daniel which says Pas Bag Hamelach. Have you ever heard this? So Pas Bag. So this word Pas Bag Hamelach, and I'll share with you, time permitting, the context where this is coming from in Daniel. It means the piece of choice food of the king. It has to do with Hananiah, Mishael, Nazariah, and Daniel come to visit. Who was it? Belshazzar or Nebuchadnezzar? I forget. And he gives, the king says he gives them pas bag hamelach. It's like choice portions of food and some wine. It says there. So the word pas bag. So Beis Gimel stands for Monday and Tuesday. That if Rosh Hashana falls out on Monday and or Tuesday, like it does this year, which this year it's both Monday and Tuesday. Some years we Tuesday, Wednesday. This year's Monday and Tuesday. But even if it's Tuesday and Wednesday, certainly this year Monday and Tuesday, then pas is means like the word pitim, which means to cut up, to break up. So then pat, right, hamelach. So then, so if bag hamelach, that's how you read it. If bag hamelach, if hamelach, meaning when you say hamelach, Rosh Hashanah falls on a Monday, Tuesday, then pas vayelach. Then you cut it up and you don't say vayelach then. Okay, and that's just that. So Nitzavim is so we say that God's elements is not just in heaven, but rather we say, right? Ki kare ve'lecha hadavar me'oid b'ficha v'lvavcha l'asesi, because it's close to you very much. B'ficha v'lvavcha, right? So that's talk and thought in your heart, but then none of l'asesi, to do it, also in action. So the way we take that which is great, that which is even loy niflasi, is like we could touch. Even that which is greater than even wonder, it's that absolute positive negative. And we're saying the dark that is really the pure light. It's so dark. So too that which is in the state of even higher, the loy b'shamayim, loy niflasi, that in itself comes down into us to do. Okay. For kikar ve'lecha. I'll sing. We'll sing one, and whoever knows this one, please sing together. I think this comes from the 5 towns. I think it comes from like Eish Kodesh community in or one of the Chaver, maybe for Rockaway somewhere. That's quite popular. People sing it around these days. Ki karai elecha hadavar meyad beficha uvilvacha latzoisoi ki karai elecha hadavar meyad beficha uvilvacha latzoisoi neredai ladariradai ladariradoi Say la da da da, my da da da. La da da la da di da da la da di da do. Say la da di da da la da da da. La da da la da di da da la da di da do. Oh la da di da da, I da da da. Ikaras elecha hadavar meyavod leficha over vacha vasayoy ikaras elecha hadavar meyavod leficha Mobil Bacham La Sai Sai Da-da-da, la-da-di-da-da, la-da-di-da-do. Ay, la-da-di-da-da, la-da-da-da. Da-da-da, la-da-di-da-da, la-da-di-da-do. Ay, la-da-di-da-da, la-da-da-da. Da-da-da, la-da-di-da-da, la-da-di-da-do. Ay, la-da-di-da-da, la-da-da-da. Da-da-da, la-da-di-da-da, la-da-di-da-do.